Well, hey friends, how's everyone doing today? Hope you're all having an awesome day so far. Tamie M coming to you from TamieM.com, personal empowerment coach for women. And I have a question for you. What does freedom mean to you? What does freedom mean to you? Like, what would that look like in your life, or feel like, or taste like, or smell like? Like, what does freedom mean to you? You know, about a year ago, I did some work with the amazing Julia Baxter, branding coach, and she really helped me begin the process of pulling my brand out from the core of me, from the deepest part of me. And in the work that I did with her, one of the first things she had us do, it was sort of a group thing that we were doing with her, one of the things that she had us do was get really clear on our core values. And it was a powerful exercise. If you haven't done something like this, I highly encourage you to do it, because self-awareness is everything. In particular, if we're talking about achieving our goals or, you know, success, whatever that is for you in any area of your life, self-awareness is key, right? Like, without real self-awareness, we're going to be bumping into a lot of walls and a lot of hurdles, probably unnecessarily, right? So I went through this exercise with Julia, and it was phenomenal. And one of the things that I discovered was my very top, I figured out what my top 3 core values are. We come to the planet with them. They've always been a part of us. But by going through the work with her, I discovered what my top 3 core values were, and that the very top for me was freedom. And it was no surprise, like, as I look back over my entire life, that freedom would be my #1 top core value really didn't surprise me at all. The other 2 for me personally were growth and courage. Also not a surprise to anyone who knows me really well, for sure. But, you know, I was thinking about it today, like, freedom's a big word, and it means a lot of different things to a lot of people, right? So what does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? I want to share with you my journey a little bit today, and how, you know, my idea, my vision of freedom has shifted and changed over the years, and what I think is necessary to go from, you know, different stages of freedom. Freedom isn't the same thing across the board for everyone, depending on where they're at in life, what's going on, what they've done, what they haven't done, you know, what kind of life are they living. You know, there's a lot of circumstances, a lot of things that can come into play. But before we get started, I just want to say hi to some friends. I see John Perez on. How are you? Nice to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining. And Shiloh Dancer, nice to see you. Haven't seen you on my live broadcast before, so welcome. And Babette Michelle, hello. How are you? Thank you for joining. So freedom. What does freedom mean to you? You know, I hear a lot of people say that freedom means the ability to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with who I want. What I want, where I want, when I want, with who I want. And I love it. Because, yeah, man, like, that is exactly what freedom means to me today. That is exactly the kind of freedom that I am working to create for myself and my man, so that we are in a position to be able to do what we want, when we want, where we want, with who we want, period. That kind of freedom. But 10-15 years ago, I'm not sure I could have even conceived of that level of freedom. 15-20 years ago, I know for sure I wouldn't have been able to conceive of that kind of freedom. And when I think of freedom, for me, at this stage in my life, what comes first and foremost is emotional, psychological, and spiritual freedom. Emotional, psychological, and spiritual freedom. That's what comes first and foremost for me. And I'm a firm believer, based on my own personal experience, that we actually need to be in a place where we have achieved and are able, in healthy, functional ways, to maintain emotional, psychological, and spiritual freedom before we can get to a place of being able to create the kind of freedom that I just mentioned a few minutes ago, where we can do what we want, when we want, where we want, with who we want, which really, to a large degree, has to do with financial freedom, for sure. But it has a lot more there's a lot more to it than just financial freedom. I think we all know people who, you know, are quite well off financially, but are slaves to their business or their occupation, are chained to their desk or their office or their brick and mortar business. They might have financial resources, but they're time broke. They're chained to a location. They're not free to do what they want, when they want, with who they want, right? Like whatever, whenever I feel like it. No matter how much they have in terms of financial resources, they're still handicapped in other areas, right? But just to sort of step back a little bit, because I'm on a bit of a rant here, I'll go down a few rabbit holes of tangents, because that's what I tend to do. So if you're new to my live broadcast, welcome, welcome. I hope you get some value out of it. But for me, once again, without emotional, psychological, and spiritual freedom, forget the next level of freedom. Forget it. Forget it. If you're chasing creating freedom for yourself, but you haven't done the personal work, you haven't done the inner work, you haven't dealt with the shit from the past, you haven't healed your owies, and you're, you know, like you're addicted to personal development. I mean, I know this was me quite a long time ago now, but this was me at a certain point in my life, in my 20s and early 30s, where I was addicted to personal development, but I hadn't really taken the time to get still and deal with my shit. I was running from my feelings. I was running from my history. I was running from the past. And until I got willing to stand still and feel my feelings and do that work, I was far from free. Let me tell you, I was anything but free. I was crippled and handicapped by a lot of emotional stuff that was at that point left unaddressed. And I don't think I'm unique. I think that there's a lot of folks out there who are chasing success and chasing this notion of freedom without understanding that there's a number of components to freedom. And in my experience, in my humble opinion, there's actually a number of stages to it. And you know, getting to the ultimate in freedom without standing on the firm foundation of emotional, psychological, and spiritual freedom is going to be very, very difficult. Like, you know, trying to run a marathon on crutches. That's what it's going to be like. It's going to be hard. And even if you get there, and again, I think we all know folks who, you know, have perhaps achieved a certain level of, you know, financial success, professional success, but, you know, they've got 3 divorces in their pocket, in their back pocket, right? Like they're, you know, personally, things are a big challenge for them. And, you know, like there's folks who have achieved incredible success in terms of their fitness. That was me for a long time. I was, you know, a fitness freak, a fitness queen, completely addicted, all motivated by vanity, all motivated by I am not enough, I am not worthy, you know, so needing to chase this illusion of perfection in order to, you know, feel good enough, which I didn't feel good enough anyway, right? I mean, you know, there's a lot of good things to be said for fitness. I'm a big advocate of fitness, but when you're using it compulsively as a means of running from reality and running from truth and, you know, trying to create an illusion of perfection and better than, when the reality is on the inside, things are a train wreck. I mean, it's just not a healthy thing, and a lot of people fall victim to that, right? A lot of people fall victim to that. So what does freedom mean to you? What does freedom mean to you? Have you ever really stopped and thought about that? Because if you're not feeling emotionally free, at peace in your heart, in your head, good in your own skin, if you're not feeling psychologically free, at least the vast majority of the time, and when you do fall off the beam, you know how to get back on pretty darn quick. If you're not feeling emotionally and psychologically free, then you're not feeling spiritually free, in my humble opinion, right? Like they all go together. We're not talking religion. I don't talk about religion, but spiritual freedom is tied into emotional and psychological freedom. Being free to be that amazing, awesome, divine human being that you're put here on the earth to be, to gift everyone with that amazingness that you came here to, being free to be the vessel, to be the channel of that awesomeness, that, you know, you didn't come here to be mediocre. You didn't come here to suffer. You didn't come here to be abused. You didn't come here to pay bills and die, as is so often said, right? You came here to shine your own unique bright light. And if you are not emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually free, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to be crippled and handicapped. So I just really encourage you to think about, what does freedom mean to you? What does that look like? Are you chasing a certain flavor of freedom prematurely before having done the work to really free yourself? We have to be pretty free emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually, again, in my humble opinion, to have a hope in hell of creating the kind of freedom where we can do what we want, when we want, where we want, with who we want. That's got to be that part of the foundation. That's got to be in place. I mean, I don't know, guys. What do you think? Let me know. Drop me a comment and let me know. I think that's pretty common sense. That's got to be in place. And if we don't have that in place and we're chasing the next level of freedom, it's going to take us a long time, and it's going to be a much harder struggle than it needs to be. It's going to be a much harder struggle than it needs to be. So I say, go after emotional, psychological, and spiritual freedom first. Or at the very least, at the same time, make sure that you are not neglecting those aspects of yourself. Make sure that you're doing that work too. You know, the creation of freedom for ourselves is really all about manifesting the reality that we prefer to experience, right? We can't do that if we're carrying around a bunch of garbage. We can't do that if we're engaged in unhealthy, toxic relationships day in, day out. We can't do that if we don't have the skills and the tools necessary to fully, deeply, completely love ourselves and take care of ourselves, support ourselves, good times and bad, fully, completely support ourselves. Put that kind of freedom in place, and then go after the big next level of, you know, financial, location, geographical freedom. I can do what I want, when I want, with who I want, how I want, where I want. I mean, that's a worthy goal. That's a worthy goal. Just, you know, the folks that I know that live that way are absolute inspirations just by standing on that kind of ground. What you do is inspire folks that, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too, right? If I can do it, you can do it too. So it's a worthy goal to go after, and to be someone who has that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? That kind of influence, I guess, would be a word I could use, but, you know, that, who can be that kind of an example. Come into the light, come into the light, come into the light. If I can do it, you can too. If this is possible for me, it's possible for you, right? So that's a worthy goal to go after. But let me tell you, in my opinion, in my experience, emotional, psychological, and spiritual freedom is an even more worthy goal. Because the vast majority of people don't have it. And they don't even know how to get it. They don't even know how to get it. They're self-medicated one way or another. They're walking around in denial. They hate their lives, their relationships, their jobs, whatever it is, right? The vast majority of people are not living in a place where they can really say, hand on heart, I feel emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually free, day in and day out. I gotta tell you the truth. I had to work freaking hard to get to that place. Depending on where you come from and what you've come through, that might be hard work for a little while, but I'll also tell you that it was the best work I've ever done in my life. It paid off and continues to pay off, like in ways that I can't even put into words or describe. It is work so worth doing, so worth doing. Guys, we didn't come here to live crippled and shackled and in denial and running and medicated and, you know, like, we didn't come here for that. We didn't come here for that. And if we're doing that while we're chasing some, you know, notion of freedom out there, it's the cart before the horse, and it's going to be hard. So I just encourage you today to think about what freedom means to you. What freedom means to you. Are you emotionally and psychologically and spiritually free? And if not, when would now be a good time to start doing that work? Wouldn't it be a good time to start doing that work, to give yourself the gift? Guys, I hope you got some value out of this today. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, comment, and or share. Once again, my name is Tamie M. I am a personal empowerment coach for women. Essentially, what I do is I empower women who grew up in fucked up families to break free, step into their power, and live kick-ass lives. I'm not a therapist. I'm definitely not a therapist. I've got a tremendous background in terms of family of origin issues, codependency recovery, all kinds of recovery, to be honest with you. A lot of things that people struggle with along the way. So I'm not a therapist. I'm definitely not a pushover. I don't pull punches. What I do is I teach radical self-love and next level manifestation. In fact, I have a kick-ass, totally killer course starting April 2nd that I'm so super proud of. It's manifestation. It's a manifestation mastery intensive. It's an intensive 12-week program that launches April 2nd. So if you want some more information on that, either drop me a comment, send me a private message, or get on over to TamieM.com and have a look at the courses that I have up and available. Like I said, it starts April 2nd. It's going to be an amazing, super, super powerful deep dive into what does it really take to manifest and create, consciously co-create, the reality that we would way prefer to be living. So guys, again, I hope you got some value. If you have any questions, drop me a comment, send me a private message. Check things out on TamieM.com. Otherwise, I'll look forward to catching up with you very, very soon. Mwah. Thanks, friends. Much love. Thanks for hopping on. And as always, I will leave you with this. Know your value. Know your value and unlock your freedom. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.